子はいろんなこと知ってるし、多分趣味も近いので仲良くなりたいんです。くるみんはどうすればいいと思いますか？
Hey everyone, it's Mark! This is my recap for Pokémon Horizons Episode 8, The Secret of the Unopening Door. This was the 1240th episode of the Pokémon anime, and I just thought this episode was so much fun, and I'll explain why. So the episode opens with Liko's usual intro, and she's still fixated on Dot, which sets the tone for this episode. Back in real time, we take a look at the Brave Asagi in the middle of the night. Roy is up late looking for a midnight snack, but Murdoch and Freed are in the kitchen for some reason. Murdoch goes to check on something in a cupboard, but Freed notices something. He spots Roy through the window, and Freed is just like, "Hey kid, go to sleep." And sleepy Roy is like, "Okay," and walks away. Back inside the kitchen, Murdoch is holding a plate of donuts, and for some reason, he's disappointed. Freed and Pikachu don't seem to mind, they're happy about the snack. Murdoch is worried, so I'm guessing he tried leaving this out for Dot to eat. His plan didn't work this time, but he's not going to give up just yet. Cut to the next morning when everyone just enjoyed Murdoch's breakfast meal. Liko asks if Dot is going to eat with them, and Murdoch says she's never been interested in food, which just leaves Roy absolutely flabbergasted. Every character had so many great reactions throughout this episode, and this was just one example. Liko is concerned if Dot is eating properly, but Molly reassures her that Dot eats these gummies that give her all the nutrients she needs. Murdoch says that he'll make something so good that even Dot will eat it, but Molly quickly changes the topic by pointing out how the food supplies are running low, and the girls accuse Murdoch of secretly making extra sweets. Free tells everyone not to point fingers, which just makes everyone suspicious of him as well. Molly is like, "Oh, alright then, so how about we go without sweets until we reach Paldea," which causes Free to immediately push back on that suggestion, instead saying that they should land immediately and go shopping. Not very slick, are you, Freed? Molly and Orla are not happy about this, but they settle on letting Captain Pikachu decide what the group should do. Cap just lets out a confused Pika, and Freed immediately says Cap agrees with him, although Orla isn't exactly sold on this translation. Before they can land the ship, it's time for Liko to go to school, virtually. She talks with Anne before class starts, and both of them are fired up because Nidothing is doing a live stream later today, which is apparently pretty rare. Over on the wing deck, Roy just finished his class for the day, and Freed walks over to start up a conversation. Roy says that he was hoping to see Rayquaza flying around, but then Freed goes all professor on him by explaining that Rayquaza usually hangs out in the stratosphere, and that there are so many places where Pokemon live that humans haven't even discovered yet. Clearly, this just bores Roy, who walked away while Freed was lost in his own thoughts. We get this 3D cinematic shot of Roy spotting land up ahead, and it's the town they're gonna dock in. The rising Voltacklers step off the ship and decide to play rock, paper, scissors to decide who is to stay and watch the airship. Roy is fired up that he's going to win, and it was cute to see the Pokemon react just like their trainers did. Despite his confidence, Roy gets completely annihilated in this game of rock, paper, scissors, and he's heartbroken. The others are quick to leave him be, but Roy starts begging Liko to switch with him, and I've gotta say, this episode really made these two look like siblings to me. Roy is totally acting like a little brother here. Liko is actually happy to stay behind and watch the ship. She really wants to watch Nidothing's live stream. She doesn't say that right away though, so Roy offers to tell her a secret in exchange for staying behind. Liko plays it off like, "Oh, alright, I'll do you a favor," and yeah, this was 100% like a big sister getting one over on her little brother. Anyways, Roy is super excited to be in a city for the first time. This totally reminded me of when May took her Bulbasaur outside of the Forbidden Forest for the first time in its life. It was so innocent and naive. Molly is quick to keep everyone on task though. She even reminds everyone that they're on a tight budget, so no unnecessary purchases. Back on the Brave Asagi, and I guess Ludlow never really leaves the airship, but Liko still needed to stay behind. We check in on her doing all of the chores while Sprigatito kinda just goofs off the whole time. The two of them do share a fist bump when they're done for the day as Liko turns her attention to the secret cupboard, which is what Roy told her about earlier. Apparently he caught Freed and Murdoch in the act last night. She checks inside the cupboard hoping to find some sweets, and instead she just shocks Alchemy, who creams all over her face. Why did I just say that? Anyways, quickly moving on, Liko is shocked to get a phone call from Murdoch and starts profusely apologizing, even though Murdoch has no clue what she's talking about. He just called to tell her about some boxed lunches he left in the kitchen. Liko is just relieved that she didn't blow her cover, and she admits that she's probably not up to sneaking around and lying. She is up for getting shocked over and over again though, as she is once again surprised by Ludlow suddenly appearing before her. He's here for the boxed lunches as well. There's 3 boxed lunches there, so Liko picks up on the fact that one of them is probably for Dot. Ludlow thinks thinks it could be a good idea to bring Dot her lunch, but he's just talking to nobody. Liko has already run off. She knocks on Dot's door, but she doesn't even get a response. She decides to just walk away, but SPEYERE hits the flap on her door, and there's the Nidothing music coming from inside again. Liko hears this and is determined to connect with Dot as a Nidothing fan herself. She tries yelling through the door about Nidothing and how they're doing a live stream soon, but Dot yells back, telling Liko to just shut up. We catch a quick glimpse inside where Dot is shocked at how she just reacted. Liko won't give up though. She tries talking about why she's a fan of Nidothing, complimenting how cute Nidothing looks in its suit and how knowledgeable they are, and all of this is causing Dot to blush because she knows that these compliments are actually towards her. Clearly, she doesn't know how to feel about all of this, and Quaxly is keeping a close eye on the situation. Dot realizes that it's time for the Nidothing livestream, and Liko is like, oh yeah, they're always late for these, which causes Dot to say it's your fault under her breath. Dot raises her voice to yell at Liko to go away. She says that IRL relationships are inefficient and a waste of time, and Liko finally walks away as Dot rushes to get the Nidothing costume on. Meanwhile, Quaxly is not exactly approving of how Dot is acting. Dot does her little mental switch call out to change her persona, and just like that, Nidothing is here with a big yo Sue for everyone watching. We'll pick back up on this later as it's time to change scenes following the ad break. Back in the city, Roy and Freed have come across this salesman trying to sell a cloth, and this is clearly just some kind of scam, but Roy is too innocent and naive to know any better. Freed is ready to walk away, but Roy decides to ask this weirdo if he knows anything about Rayquaza, and the scam artist is like, oh, I don't know, maybe if I sell this cloth, I'll have something to tell you. He even says that a young man with 2 attendants asked him about Rayquaza as well, and that's all Freed needed to hear. He's buying that cloth. Alright, back to the Bravasagi, where Liko is ready for Nidothing's livestream to start. She is really fired up, and apparently Nidothing is going to be doing some live Q&A. We check back in with Roy and Freed, who predictably did not learn anything useful from that salesman. Freed is at least somewhat satisfied, having potentially learned something about the explorers. Okay, back to Nidothing, who's answering a question from someone with the username Muscles of a Rhydon. This guy says that he thought he was unbeatable after learning Rock Blast, but keeps losing, even getting burnt to a crisp by an Ember in his last battle. Hold on a second, no way does Zur watch Nidothing too, but there's no way this wasn't intentional. This guy's Rhydon has only used 1 move so far, Rock Blast, and he lost to Fuecoco's Ember in their last battle. Wow. Nidothing tells him to stop spamming attack moves and try using moves like Protect and Sandstorm to change things up. Alright then, everyone pay attention during Zur's next appearance. If he uses Protect and Sandstorm, we've got a confirmed Nidothing fan on our hands. Okay, so the next comment Nidothing reads is from Sprigatito Superfan, and hey, Liko seems to be reacting kinda weird to hearing that name, and wait a second, their comment is about befriending some girl, and Nidothing is starting to sweat as Dot realizes this is Liko talking about her. Nidothing really has no clue what to do as Dot tries to keep up the facade the best she can, but things really go off the rails when Liko screams at the top of her lungs, making Dot fall out of her chair, and even Ludlow jumps at the sound of Liko's screech. And yeah, she's just floored that Nidothing is reading her comments, and I just knew that so many other YouTubers were going to use this embarrassed reaction in their thumbnails. I could see that coming from a mile away. Dot tries to pick herself back up, but Quaxly isn't buying her answer to the question. Nidothing says to change the environment and try all sorts of stuff, but Quaxly can't help but have this shady look on its face. Liko is glowing like an angel after this experience, but we'll see how much that advice actually helps. With that out of the way, back to Freed and Roy, who just found a wild Pokemon. It's a Spearow, and Freed tells Roy to show him the results of their training. After a quick battle, Fuecoco defeats Spearow with an Ember attack. Freed says that they've gained some good experience, but if we're being honest, that probably gave them what, like 12 experience points or something? Later that day, everyone's back aboard the Bravasagi, so Roy and Liko try talking to Dot again. Things are a little awkward, but Roy breaks the tension by talking about his battle against Spearow, and I don't know why, but Liko's giddy expression was amusing to me. Roy ends up challenging Liko to a battle, and after Liko remembers what Nidothing told her on the live stream, she says that they should battle right here, right now, which shocks the others. Dot finally interrupts to tell them to shut up and leave, but our heroes aren't going away so easily. Roy tries to talk about this amazing cloth that can make anything shine, but Dot doesn't care about that either. Liko asks what Dot does care about, and she answers by talking about an ancient treasure with a legendary Pokemon sealed inside. And look guys, it's funny because she's talking about that while Liko and Roy are polishing their ancient treasures that both had legendary Pokemon sealed inside. Get it? Liko and Roy pick up on this irony and they share a laugh before letting Dot be alone again. Liko mentions how that alchemy creamed all over her face earlier. Wait, stop saying that, and Roy wants to go check it out for himself. Finally left alone, Dot relaxes as Quaxley watches on. She asks why everyone on this airship is such a weirdo, and while Quaxley gives a pensive look, Dot gets a text from her Uncle Murdoch saying that good things are in store thanks to his new cookbook. Later that night, we see Dot and Quaxley sneak into the kitchen. Even later that night, we see Freed and Murdoch meet again in the kitchen. Freed suggests that Murdoch just tell everyone about making extra sweets for Dot, but he doesn't want to own up to that. Instead, he's shocked to discover that there aren't any sweets in the secret cupboard, which means Dot must have eaten them. And yeah, Dot and Quaxley are chowing down on the donuts, with Dot even admitting that they're pretty good. Later, Cap wakes up Freed just as the sun rises, and the two of them look up into the distance. Yep, that's Paldea just on the horizon. And with that, the episode comes to an end. Well, I feel like that episode recap speaks for itself. I'm going to try to keep the discussion section of this video short since I already fit a lot of my commentary into the recap. I can't say enough good things about the way Pokémon Horizons has been so far. I just have so much fun watching each new episode. The highlight for me this week was the little character moments. It's amazing that only 8 episodes into this new series, they've already established so many of these characters' personalities in a way that makes them also interesting and expressive. From the dynamic between members of the Rising Voltacklers to Liko and Roy's brother and sister bond, even Sprigatito being Sprigatito just popped off the screen to me in this episode. I couldn't help but smile throughout this whole thing. I felt like a little kid watching my favorite cartoon, and I can't thank Pokémon Horizons enough for giving me that feeling. When I watch these episodes, I feel like I don't have to watch them with such a critical eye. I can just enjoy them and not have to feel conflicted about it at all. I'll get to my rating right now, and I'm giving this episode an 8 out of 10 rating. I don't really have any complaints about this episode, but I feel like an 8 is the highest rating I can give because, well, not a whole lot actually happened. Although the little details in character development were spot on, all this episode really accomplished was moving forward the story just a little bit. Mainly, the focus was on Dot, who I still find such a fascinating character. Obviously, it's a little weird for me given that I am also a content creator who makes videos about Pokemon. I mean, I'd be so honored if anyone even felt half as good about me as Liko feels about Nidothing. That's some true fandom right there. Maybe if I bought a full bodysuit of a Pokemon, I could just stream all the time and talk to the chat like Nidothing did. That seemed like a lot of fun. My main takeaway from all of this was how Quaxley was not a fan of Dot's behavior towards Liko. I think Quaxley wants Dot to open up and be more vulnerable, but it's gonna take a while for this shy, introverted girl to really take that big step. Alright, on to the next episode, which is gonna be about Liko returning to Paldea. This will be the anime's first visit to the new region, so I'm very excited to see how it is portrayed. Another thing to keep in mind is that these previews are always narrated by Nidothing, and this one was funny because at the end, Dot breaks character for a second and asks Quaxley if it's enjoying its donut. And hold on a second, does some stuff spell donut like that? Okay, that's probably the proper way to spell donut, but I have always just spelled it D-O-N-U-T. Let me know down in the comments how you spell the word donut, and feel free to leave any other thoughts you had down there as well. If I reply to any of your comments, I expect every single one of you to let out a scream just like Liko did. Be sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys next time.